Hi guys, it's Rachel and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be sitting down and talking and chatting. So get a cup of tea, grab a snack, get cozy or slash relax in any way you want, because I think this might be quite a long rambly video because we're going to go through all my mid-year bookish stats, where I'm at, what things I've managed to read, what things I've managed to tick off, my goals and my TBRs and stuff I set myself at the beginning of the year. We're just going to have a quick delve into basically what I did at the beginning of the year and how we're getting on halfway through the year now. We are over halfway through the year, which is crazy to say, but I'm excited to just like sit down and discuss loads of bookish things with you. We're going to quickly do my June wrap up just to get that underway, and then we're going to go through my yearly reading spreadsheet, and then we are going to go through also my reading notion and just kind of like see where that's at, and then we're going to go through my physical TBR and see where that's at, because you know one of my big 2025 goals is to read my entire physical TBR, so we'll have an update on that. We'll also have an update on how my 2025 TBR is going, and we're also going to have a flip through of my 2025 bullet journal reading and non-reading spreads, just to show you guys kind of what my reading journal and my bullet journal is looking like so far this year. So there should be a lot to kind of tackle in this video, so without further ado, let's hop straight into it. And we're going to quickly do a quick fire June wrap up. I'm not going to talk through many of these books, one because I don't have them anymore, just as a quick life update. If you weren't aware, I am currently 7.5 months pregnant, which is crazy. This room that you used to recognise as my kind of like filming and reading room has drastically minimised because I'm now sitting in future Bubba's bedroom, and I am only got one bookshelf behind me now and my TBR trolley. All the rest of my books up in the loft / the other bookcases have been dismantled. So this is what we're working with now. So I don't have my entire book collection with me to show you all the books. So in June, as a quick recap, I only read 6 books, which is one of my slowest and lowest reading months to date, spanning across 1,783 pages, which isn't great either, but I did listen to 21 hours of audiobook. I read 2 physical, 2 audiobook, and 2 ebook. 3 were from my physical TBR prior to 2025 starting, so yay on my physical TBR goal. And then 1 book from my physical TBR I also acquired in 2025, so it doesn't really count. Doesn't count as much towards my physical TBR goal. I then had 1 Everand audiobook read and then 1 book from my Kindle. 3 books were standalones, 2 were part of a series, 1 of a series that I started, but I also then managed to complete 1 series. I had 1 3-star, 2 3.5 star, 1 4-star and 1 4.5 star, and those books were Love of My Afterlife, Mona Afton Can Totally Solve a Murder, These Hollow Vows, The Rule Book, Sounds Like Love, and Ghosted. So without further ado, let's hop down into my new desk location, because if you have been around my channel for quite a long time, you know that this room used to also house the desk and my computer, where I used to do all my Notion and all my filming by my desk. That no longer exists. So we're going downstairs now to where my new desk is. So let's head down there and discuss all the other things relating to my mid-year yearly bookish reset thing. So this is the new desk setup. A little bit worse lighting, but we'll try and make it work. So I brought you ever so slightly closer so you can see my screen, but I'll also have a screen recording up as well. So this is my yearly book spread, which I took from Hardback Hoarder, which I think is just Ali now. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm using this spreadsheet to track every single book I've read this year, and as you can see, this isn't accurate because obviously you've got like the title, headers and stuff, but I think I've read 38 books this year, which means I'm doing to Goodreads 38 books, but I'm 3 books behind schedule for my 80 books this year. 80 books was ambitious before I realised that my life was about to change, so I'm not holding out hope that I'm going to be able to read 80 books this year, but I have a whole year of annual leave very, very soon, so you never know what might happen in the latter half of the year. But as you can see, with my ratings, I haven't had many 5 stars out of the 38 books I have read. I have had 1, 2, 3, 4 5 stars, and one of them was a reread. So my 5 stars quickly were Table for One by Emma Gannon, which was her latest release this year and only her second kind of stab at a fiction novel. I gave this book 5 stars at the time because I loved my reading experience, but can I remember it? No. So unfortunately, it's not a 6-star book. And I think that's where I'm slacking this year, because I changed my reading ratings ever so slightly. The 5 stars are like books I loved reading. 6-star books are books that I loved reading and I will remember forever, i.e. Olive, A Man Called Uwe, etc., etc. So 5 stars are just books in that moment, or just like the perfect moment, perfect time, everything was correct. The mood, the atmosphere, just everything was chef's kiss, 5 stars. And I haven't had any 6 stars this year. My second 5 star was a reread, and that was The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, which technically is like a 6-star read for me. And then we finally found another 5 star after months at that point, and that was The Charlie Method by Elle Kennedy. And then it took us another couple of months to find another 5 star, and that was Summer in a City by Alex Astra, which once again was a 5 star but not like a 6 star. And I really thought my 2 most recent reads, which were just in a vlog that you would have seen, My Friends and Sounds Like Love, would have been 5 stars or new 6-star books, and they weren't. So I'm really struggling with ratings this year. Like, I'm reading a lot of like good books. I have a lot of 4 stars, which we'll go into in a minute, but not many like, oh my god, these books were like incredible, which makes me a little bit sad. But hey, it just might not be my reading year, and that's absolutely fine. So let's go into our actual stats, because I don't want this video to be too rambly. So it says I read 41 books. I don't know how accurate that is. We'll see. I totally read a total of 11,583 pages, listening to almost 100 hours of audiobooks. I'm a very kind of like flip-flop audiobook listener. I have to really be in the mood for an audiobook, and I have to really have a task where I can zone out and listen to the audiobook for me to really enjoy the story in that format. So I don't tend to listen to audiobooks very often, but I'm trying to get more into listening to them on my commute to and from work, which obviously won't be happening very soon. So I only have like 2 weeks left to listen to audiobooks via my commute, and then I'm gonna have to find other ways and other tasks whilst listening to audiobooks. So my hours might just suddenly massively decrease in the second half of the year. And then I've acquired 29 books. So that's not actually too bad, and we'll go into the books I've acquired. And I have a whole video about all of the books I've acquired this year, but we'll quickly do a recap in terms of percentage wise, how many I've read versus how many I've bought. And then as you can see, my highest reading month, it always is January. I started the year off so strong, and I'm like, oh my god, I could keep up at this pace for this entire year. And then the months and months go on, and that just doesn't happen. So in January I read 8 books, in February I read 7, March I read 5, April back up to 7, May back down to 6. June says 7, but that's because I was still currently reading 2 books, and they kind of crossed over from June to July. But full books, I read only 5 in June, and then I've been currently reading 1 in July, because we're currently in July. So that's how we're at in terms of my ratings so far this year, which are down here. I've had 2 2.5 stars, which I'm not complaining about. We've had 10 3 stars, 9 3.5 stars, 10 4 stars, so I'm equal on my 3 and my 4s, 5 4.5 stars, and 5 4 stars, which is sad. So sad. Now let's look at these beautiful pie charts at the top. My most read genre is, of course, romance. What do you expect from me? My second one, I think, being contemporary at 7 books at 17.9%, and then into fantasy, which I'm not surprised by, because I'm loving like my cozy fantasies. I am enjoying some fantasies that I'm reading, so that doesn't really shock me anymore. I definitely think fantasy after contemporary and romance tends to be my go-to genre. So I read 6 fantasies so far this year, and then we have a little sprinkle of mystery, non-fiction, and thriller, I think. And then a whopping 92.7% of the books I've read this year have been full-on novels. I don't tend to read short story collections or novellas or graphic novels. I'm very much a novel person. I want a full story. I never really get on with short stories or novellas, so that's kind of where the pie chart will always stand. And then in terms of formats, my biggest pie of the chart is ebooks. I'm shocked. I know that was one of my goals. One of my goals is to read ebooks over physical books before buying the physical books. I really wanted to, if I wanted to read a new book, for example, and I've heard so much hype about this new book, I wanted to buy it on my Kindle first before buying a physical book, because I knew what the old library was going to need to be in the future. So I didn't want to keep growing my physical TBR collection. So I knew that I wanted to read more ebooks this year, but I'm just quite shocked that my biggest selection is still ebooks, because obviously one of my goals is to get my physical TBR down as much as possible. So I would assume that I was reading more physical books. So it's not by much, 16 ebooks, 14 physical, not that different. And then 8 audiobooks, and 3 being a combo of the physical / ebook and the audiobook. And then how I've acquired my books this year is quite an intense pie chart. But I think the biggest pie chart slice, which does make me happy, is books from my physical TBR, which yay, but only 28.9% of that pie chart is physical TBR books. The next one is Kindle, which doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I have absolutely loved using my Kindle this year. And then we have a mix of Kindle Unlimited. So Kindle is books I've brought on my Kindle to read on my Kindle. And then we've got Kindle Unlimited category at 10%, Gifted at 7.9%, Everand, Amazon, NetGalley, the publisher, and Audible. Those are kind of like my main categories of books, of where I acquire my books from. And then the last one I'm finding really interesting with this spreadsheet is the book cover colour. This is never something that I've tracked before, but I think it's actually really fun. So this is just an interesting pie chart that most of my books are blue, which I'm not surprised by. When I had all my rainbow bookcase, a lot of it was blue, and then the second lot of it was pink. A lot of my books tend to be blue and pink. I think that's just because I read a lot of contemporary and romances. So I read 14 blue books this year, 8 pink books, 6 yellow, 3 green, 4 black, 3 purple, and then a mix of other colours as well. And then if we just quickly go into my transactions and just do a quick recap of the books I've brought this year. I've brought a total of 29 books, like we said, this year. I've DNF'd 2 of the books I've brought this year, both being Kindle reads, and that was 4 Room Realms and The Favourites. And then out of the 29 books I have brought, I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I've read 14 of them, which I don't think is too bad. Actually, I can now tick off my friends as well. So I've read 15 of them. So not too bad at all. Can I tick off any others while I'm here? But that's not too bad. Not too bad. So that's kind of my reading spreadsheet, which is good going, to be fair. I'm never one that I start these things and fall off the bandwagon. I'm always one to be constantly updating my spreadsheets, my bullet journals, my good reads. I'm very good at keeping on top of all of like my book tracking apps and stuff. The only thing I'm not good at keeping up on this year is my Instagram, my Bookstagram. I used to be quite good at taking a picture of every single book I finished, giving it a little bit of a review and a star rating. And I started that at the beginning of the year, and I just fallen off the bandwagon with that one just because of life, which is fine. But I do want to get back into Instagram, but that's a whole different side tangent. So that's where we're at with my reading spreadsheet. Let's do a little bit of a flip through of my bullet journal and my reading journal, because I merged the 2 together this year, before finishing off this video back upstairs talking about my physical TBR and my 2025 TBR and where we're at. Although, to be fair, I could do that down here. Maybe we'll do that down here as well. So let's go through my bullet journal. Hopefully you can see this okay, but this is my 2025, my everything bullet journal. 2025 cover page, my yearly overview, my reflections page and my workouts. These are just quick things I'll show you. All the films I've seen in the cinema this year. I don't count films I've watched at home. And then all the TV shows I've watched at home. I would say highlights have been Lilo and Stitch in terms of film. And then in terms of TV show, absolutely loved DCC and You and Reacher. I think those are my 3 favourite TV shows I've watched so far this year. Didn't really like White Lotus at all. Was a little bit disappointed with The Last of Us season 2. Didn't enjoy Adolescence at all, which I know was very, very popular, and so on and so forth. This is where we get into the bookish things. So this is my 2025 bookshelf so far, categorised into ratings. And as you can see, I had a really strong start to the year of a lot of 4 stars. And then we dipped into a lot of 3 stars with a couple of 5 stars, one of them obviously being a reread. And then we've kind of had a mixture ever since with a lot of 3 stars. I'm really hoping this second half of the page will not be as many 3 stars. I'm wanting 4 and 5 stars on this page. I don't want to see any more orange. No more orange, please. Thank you. And this page I am so happy with. This is my favourite page to fill out every single day. And this is my pages read per day, categorised into less than 50 pages, 51 to 100 pages, 101 to 150 pages, 151 to 200 pages, and then 200 page plus. So as you can see, I read mainly less than 50 pages a day. Sometimes I'll spike into the 50 to the 100 category, but I rarely ever get to the 200 plus a day unless I'm doing like a readathon or I've had a really unproductive weekend and all I've done is read. And then I do have some days where I don't read at all, and that's absolutely fine. But I absolutely love filling out this page every single day. And the app that I use to help me fill it out is an app called Bookmori, which I just keep track of all the books that I've read, and it tells me what page number I'm on each day. So it does all the calculations for me. So yesterday I read 136 pages with a combination of 2 books, etc., etc. And that's just really handy to it makes it a lot easier to keep on track with this page, having that app that calculates how many pages I read per day, as long as I keep filling in the page number I'm actually on, if that makes sense. So this is my favorite page so far, and I just really like to see the pattern. Like I'll have like phases where I do read more consistently, and then I'll have pages where days and weeks where I just constantly just read less than 50 pages, which is very much the pattern of June. And I'm hoping to switch it in July, seeing as I'm going on maternity leave, and hopefully I won't have Bubba until the beginning of August. And then this is my books log page. I do have a second bit, which I'm hoping will last me the rest of the year, seeing as I wanted to read 80 books. We're technically on my 40th book, and we're about halfway through the table, so I'm fingers crossed this is enough space. But I started actually dividing it per month, so you can kind of see what books I'm reading per month. And as you can see, January was my biggest kind of like section, and then we've kind of like dipped and then kind of stayed steady ever since. Here I just kind of track the title, the author, when I finished it, and the star rating. And then here is my priority TBR, which I guess we can go through now, because I was going to go through it upstairs. But these are all the books I wanted to read in 2025, split into 5 categories. My physical TBR, so books on my physical TBR that I really wanted to focus on. New releases, so books that hadn't come out yet that I was looking forward to in 2025. My series to finish, books I'd started and hadn't finished yet. Series to start, and then books I was interested in, so books I didn't own but have been on my like radar for a couple of years now that I just really wanted to focus on. So I'm pleased to announce that the only books I haven't read from this TBR, and we're only in July, is All My Rage by Sapphire Tahir, Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors, and Written in the Stars by Alexandra Belther. All the rest I've read by Firefly Lane. I've read Everything I Never Told You. I DNF'd The Last Murder at the End of the World. I've recently read Sounds Like Love. I've read Table for One. I've recently, literally yesterday, finished My Friends by Frederick Buckman. I've read Beg, Borrow, Steal, read Out of the Woods, read Daydream. So I finished 3 series this year, and more to be fair. I've also started, but hoping to finish very, very soon, Delilah Green Doesn't Care, aka the Bright Falls trilogy. I really want to start Written in Stars soon, so I can tick this one off because it is on my July TBR. And then All My Rage and Blue Sisters are the only books left to complete. So I think, because we're only in July, I'll be able to complete my 2025 TBR this year. That would be ideal. And then we come on to another very fun page. These are all books I was looking forward to at the beginning of the year, and I've just coloured them in once I've actually read them. So I was excited for quite a few books this year. Some not so much anymore. Like The Island Getaway, I don't really have an interest in reading anymore. I might colour it in grey, just so it doesn't look that displeasing to the eye when I've like coloured in all the rest and haven't read that one. But the books I was excited for that I have read was Beg, Borrow and Steal, Out of the Woods, What If I Never Got Over You, Table for One, My Friends, and Sounds Like Love. And I only have a couple more books left to read to complete this page this year, which is exciting. And this was my little physical TBR to 0 sort of page. These are all the books that are on my physical TBR trolley before 2025 started. In grey are the books I've unhauled / tried to read and DNF them, and all the books I have read I've coloured in blue. So we've still got quite a few left to read. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We've still got 15 books to read from my physical TBR that were on my TBR before 2025 started. But I have hope, seeing as I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've read 12 of them so far, so we're kind of on track to get them all done by the end of the year. I wanted to have them all done before Bubba arrived. That's no longer going to be the case, but as long as I can get them all done by the end of the year, that would be ideal. And then this is just like a quick overview of like every single month, just so I can see it as like one full spread. So as you can see, highest month was January. What I don't like is this column, the 5-star ratings, 111010. That's not good. I don't like that. I also don't like the fact that sometimes my hauled books are higher than my unhauled books. But it's fine. I definitely think I'll be tweaking this and this next year, because there are some stats on here that I just don't really care for, i.e. my not owned and owned, and also my standalone series. I don't really care for those columns, so I definitely want to do some tweaking next year, but I'm happy to keep filling it out for the time being. And it's just a nice kind of like quick overview when it comes to doing these sorts of videos, and I want my stats at a really quick glance. And then we're just kind of like going in to my actual bullet journal now, which is my YouTube stats and my Instagram stats. My Instagram stats have just kind of been obsolete this year because I just haven't been focusing on Instagram. And my goals are kind of semi-working, semi-not working. There have been other things on my mind, which is absolutely fine. And then we quickly go into January. I'm not going to go into depth. Just my main cover page, my goals and my highlights, my habit tracker, and my energy versus mood. I used to do reading pages in my bullet journal. That's kind of died down as well, you'll see later on. And then I have my pages read per day, as well as my reading calendar, and the exact pages I read per day are down here. And then I started doing like a doodle every single time something exciting happened. I wish I continued up with that, but I didn't, and that's okay. And then we're going on to my weeklies for January. And then we're on to February. I think February is my least favourite theme and spread. I just hated it. I definitely got into a bullet journal rut this year. But my goals, my habits, when I still wanted to do my monthly reflections in my bullet journal, but 1 month on, I just didn't want to do them anymore, and I started doing them digitally. I kept up my doodle every time something exciting happened in the month. This was another one of my reading spreads. And then my pages read and calendar, and my actual pages per day, because this is just nice to look at, but sometimes I actually want to know how much I've read per day, and that's down to the actual digit, like 17 pages, 165, etc. And then my weeklies. This is where I was really in my like bullet journal rut, and then I was slowly coming out of it in March. I really enjoyed this theme. I love the pastels, but it took me so long to draw every single one of these lines. So monthly calendar, goals, to do, TBR, and hauled. My red, and this is where I started to get rid of my reading spreads in my bullet journal, make them more simplified, because I just couldn't bother to keep up with them anymore. My kind of bullet journal rut was kind of really happening here. Pages read, reading calendar, and actual pages. My habits, and I went back to mood versus energy, but I just don't ever refer to this. It's just a bit pointless. It just looks aesthetically pleasing. And then my weeklies, I think I kept the same because that was like the layout that was working best for me this month. And then we're into April, and this is where I started getting back into doodling in my bullet journal again, which makes me really happy. So this is a honey and bee theme. My monthly calendar, my goals, to-dos, my habits, my pages read, my reading schedule, I guess is what I called it. And then this was meant to be my read versus not read, but I didn't really do anything with that bit. And then my weeklies. And as you can see, my reading stats page has completely disappeared now. And then we're on to May, which was the month of my baby shower, so it's all baby themed. Calendar, to do, habit tracker. I didn't like this habit tracker at all. I like knowing what date the day is, so like Monday's the 1st, etc., whereas I couldn't really track that with this layout, so I won't be going back to this specific layout for a habit tracker. My pages read, my reading schedule, and my TBR. And then we're into weeklies. And I had a random page here because I really couldn't bother to bullet journal this week, so I made the most simple weekly to-do list on planet Earth, and I had a spare page, so that's where I put in my summer book bingo. As you can see, I've only ticked off one so far. I'm hoping to tick off a few more fairly soon. And then we're into another weekly. And then this is where I'm back in my bullet journal groove, guys. I'm back in my bullet journal groove. My birthday month, June, I did a disco theme, which was very cute. I loved it. My to-do list, my playlist of all the songs I listened to on my birthday month. And then I want to like small calendars, but my writing just doesn't fit it well. I like big overview calendars. So I have gone back to a big calendar in July. I also like this kind of habit tracker, so I might go back to this in the future. It's not my favourite, but it's definitely one that I like more if I only use like a minimal amount of space for a habit tracker. And then my reading, my pages, and my TBR, quite like this layout. And then my weeklies. And then we're into July. Ice cream theme, guys. Ice cream theme. And this is my habit tracker down here, which I'm really, really enjoying so far. These are all my July kind of like to-dos, goals, etc. So I want to fill out the baby book. This is daily movement. I know you probably can't see it. I want to read a lot. I want to buy bathroom storage, which we have done. Start mat leave. Prep freezer meals for when we're in postpartum. Write my August birthday cards so I don't have to think about them when I have a newborn. Breastfeeding things. Plan August. Digital declutter. This is everything I want to do before Bubba arrives, basically. Print baby shower pictures. Finish buying Bubba stuff. And then I've got a few more spaces to fill in some more. But this is basically like a whole brain dump of to-dos, habits I want to try and complete, as well as like wants and goals and stuff. It's all just a higgledy-piggledy page of things I want to achieve in the month of July. And then this is my reading page. So we've got my pages read per day. This is the first time this year that I haven't got a breakdown of individual pages, which is stressing me out ever so slightly. I don't like knowing exactly how many pages I've read of each book / what the book is in this side. I don't have like a key per se. So I'm trying a key this way. So the first green is Ghosted, the second green is My Friends, and then the third yellow will be Every Summer After, etc, etc. And I'll just write the number down the side. I'm hoping that works, fingers crossed. And then we go into my first weekly of July, and this is the week we're currently on. So that is everything that I wanted to go through with you today. Just a little recap of where we're at with my reading halfway through the year. Still can't believe we're halfway through the year. I'm so excited for what the other half of the year is going to bring. It might not be reading dominating, or the priority might not be on reading, but that's absolutely fine. We'll just see how it goes. I might have more time to read, I might have less time to read. I really don't know what the future has in store right now, but I'm excited for it nevertheless. Kind of like where we're at. I'm really hoping you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a massive thumbs up and subscribe down below to see future content from me. I do anything from weekly reading vlogs, monthly TBRs, monthly wrap-ups, and any other push content that you can think of on your channel, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.